Yes, indeed. So the hurling weekend that saw Waterford beat Galway 130 to 320. That's 33 points to 29 points in old money. Probably doesn't tell the full story of Waterford's dominance, though. Galway came back from 16 points down at one stage in Thurles, and then we had Cork against Clare. Cork 319, Clare 123, the final score. So the quarter-final draw has been made as well, if you missed that. Dublin against Cork at Semple Stadium. That's going to be a 7 o'clock throw-in in Sky Sports on the Saturday, Dublin against Cork. And also on the Saturday, Tipperary against Waterford in Porky Queeve. That's a 1:30 throw-in, and that's on RTE. Very happy to say, to talk a bit of hurling, we have legendary, do I say legendary now, Cyril Farrell? Are you legendary Galway manager? I think you might be.
I don't know about that. I've been called a lot of things, but I'm used to that.
Come here, I suspect, because I know you have a great reputation for going to lots of games, all different levels. You just love being at matches. You love hurling so much. You must have missed it desperately. I haven't really talked to you since. You must have missed it desperately over the last 18 months.
Yeah, well, look, there was nothing happening. Always about racing on television, other than that. But yeah, you'd miss it terribly. Even the club matches, it was great last year in Galway that the club matches actually they came on stream and you could actually see them. I got to a few of them as well. But you would miss it when you'd be used to going every weekend. And I look forward to seeing look forward to Galway playing. But you look forward to every team playing really, and you'll be kind of looking out for fellas, especially new lads coming through. That's the big thing that I love doing. And even the college games, everything was gone. Was kind of involved with LIT with a first year team, would you believe, and God for the lads getting ready. Next thing there's no match at all. So it was I found the second lockdown, as we call it, harder than the first one. We used to go on the weekends, especially.
Yeah, the one after Christmas, I think, was the sickener for everybody.
That one took the biscuit, I think. Yeah, that was the one that. Well, the weather was worse, and we kind of knew the first time around. We didn't know what to expect. You were saying every second week was getting nearer and getting there, which we didn't realise if we knew how long it was going to take, it'd probably be worse than us, really.
Yeah. So look, I do want to talk to you about the weekend, but just when you're talking there about going to matches and even college matches, and you like to see who the young up and comers are, that's kind of an interesting thing. So I presume, and maybe you might give us a memory or two if any jump to mind, I presume you can remember certain moments seeing the next big thing before everybody else. I don't know which youngster might have left an impression on you.
I remember a few years ago looking at Waterford IT, and I saw this fella, a brother helping, and I used to call him Santa Claus. New kid on the block, great to get goals. I remember seeing Henry Shefflin with Waterford IT too before anyone knew him at all. I think he made the Kilkenny intermediate team. These kind of guys. We had Jackie Tyrrell in LIT before he made Anty. He was a good player. But we had plenty of backs. We played in midfield. One of his kids was midfield. I remember Shane McGrath coming to LIT, and I said, "Where are you from?" And he said, "Drummond." I said, "I never heard of it." He said, "You'll know that for a while." You know what I mean? These guys. So you'd hope to see these guys. Look at it. Nearly all the guys now are going to third level at some. You know what I mean? With the skipping matches and didn't going. There mightn't be many at the matches or even the league games, but you have all the emerging talent coming through because it's all the minor under 21, the lesser under 21 for the counties. Now it's under 20, so they're nearly all. I suppose over 90% of them are at third level. Now there's a good bit of doing, say, apprenticeship, but still they're going to college for a certain few months. So you see them all at that stage, say, from roughly 18, 19 to 22, and it's lovely to see these guys coming through. And of course, I'd be hoping to be from Galway, but they're mostly from everywhere. But same with the Bennett. We had two of them in LIT, and they used to be playing against the brother Stephen, who was in UL. And I often said to Patty as a father, I said, there's a young lad there, Kieran, he's getting no credit at all. He could turn out as good as anything. Now, last weekend, we're playing against three of them. So that's what I'd like to see. Okay, I'd be hoping Galway beat one, but at the same time, you'll be happy for these guys that that will be coming through,
Yeah, I can imagine. And was it obvious that Henry was going to be Henry when you saw him?
Yeah, I said, where is he from? And someone said Kilkenny. I said, for Christ's sake, they have enough. The same at Setanta, you'd pick out these as you'd be hoping to be Galway. But if they were Galway, you'd nearly know them. But it's lovely to see these guys coming through. And that's the one thing about college hurling. They're all from different counties, and even from lads, say, we call it, say, the less column, say, the kind of the lesser counties. When they mix with the Cork and the Kilkennys and the Tips and these guys in the Limerick, they begin to realise, hold on a minute, these guys have only a pair of hands as well, and I'm as good as these lads. Okay, I might not as good as lads, but when they get that chance, they take it as well. It's like the Junior Burns for Limerick now, he was in LIT and he was raw when he came first, but you could see him progressing the whole time. Same with Carl Barrett. tough as nails, hardy. It wasn't a great star underage with Tipperary, but by pure work made it. You love to see these guys doing it.
Yes. And on the Barrett example, I presume there must be lots of fellas who surprise you with what they go on to do.
Oh, yeah. I remember Barrett first. I was playing a league game. I said to the boys in college, I said, this guy could turn out good. I said, he's on no tip team. I said, listen, that doesn't matter. He'd probably make a tip under 21. I think he made the panel that year. The likes of Conor Mahoney coming through that wasn't on any team either, came out with the blue. And that's what you want. It's lovely to see. But they're developing college because they're getting older and they're mixing, say, with other county fellas, and they kind of realise how good they could be, especially if they come from a club that mightn't be at the top. If you're with a top senior club, you're getting exposure. But if you're from a small club, you mightn't get any exposure.
So to the games at the weekend then, Waterford 130, Galway 320. For people who didn't see this game, Galway were down by 12 at half time. They were down by 15 or 16 at one stage, and they came back really well, in fairness to them, late on. But really, they weren't in this for most of the game. I think everybody was half expecting a bit of a kick from Galway after the defeat to Dublin. So this is kind of really worrying now. There's a real sense of, is this end of era territory?
Yeah, it's really worrying because it's the very same against Dublin. No energy in the team. No pace in the team. And these guys are good hurlers, but for whatever reason, they seem to be stuck to the ground and no pace at all. It showed up against Dublin. Dublin deserved to win, but definitely against Waterford for 3/4 of the game, they were completely overrun. I think going into the last water break, I think it was 16 points. They just seemed to be gone out of reach. Now, to be fair to them, they fought back and a few lads came on and they played okay. Joe Cannon made 1 or 2 or 3 sublime passes. They 13 that you wouldn't put to the eye of a needle. Jason Flynn came on and he has skill. This guy could kill you in 2 or 3 minutes. He mightn't do it in over 20, but he has that ability. And stuck them into that next door back in the game. But to be okay, go would accept the win. But it would be an injustice if Waterford didn't win because they deserve to win. Great pace all over the pitch. Jamie Barron back again, hadn't been trained lately. It was like a little pocket rocket all over the place. And they had the likes of Shane Billett in centre back, very good up front. Hudson was kind of on a one-man forward. But what they were doing is they were coming from deep from midfield, half back, and attacking in droves. And the goal backs were overran. And they were scoring freely, from after the first water break, to sizing up to that. After that, going in before half time, they just stretched. And it was getting out of reach of Galway. Couldn't get at them at all. And that Galway team probably has been on the road a good while, and I'd say a good few players have been around. Maybe not old in age, but old in hurling. So it's probably they're going to need an injection of new blood starting off, for next year's campaign anyway.
So Cyril, at the start of the year when Galway, gave Limerick a good rattle, and there was a general assumption, it seemed across the country, that if anyone was going to put it up to Limerick, Galway might be best placed to do it. Were you of that opinion at the time, or did you have your worries?
I would feel Galway on their day or keeping it putting up to anyone, but they've been disappointing. You know what I mean? Like the Dublin game, it keeps going back to that. Very, very flat, no energy. Everyone's saying, well, maybe it's Dublin for granted, but it didn't, because Dublin, up to that, any time we play them, it's kind of, I suppose, last 7 times, I think it's 4-3 for Dublin. But they always get it hard to win. But the game was there to win, and that he put them on the back foot. And when they got the extra week, you'd say, well, they're getting a second chance. And okay, Waterford are going to come all guns blazing. Now, Waterford had a game, but Galway got the extra week off, you'd say, it was going to help them. And you'd be expecting to come out, you expect them to pop, to explode at the start, but they never can. Now they're at a crossroads, and they would be expecting to challenge for All Ireland title. But I would think now the expectancy now would be that they kind of need a lot of new blood just to revitalise kind of team. Something like if you look at Mayo last Sunday, James Horton has brought in a lot of young guys with a few of the older guys, and he seems to bring new energy into the team. It's very hard to keep going to the well the whole time with the same guys if they're not doing it. And definitely that team, that panel is at a crossroads.
Yeah. So you think it is a crossroads as opposed to somehow they got their training wrong?
Yeah, well, look, to try, I wasn't at the training now, but whatever they're doing, I don't know whether it's the strength and condition, whatever training they're doing, they're running, whatever aspect they're doing, they seem to be stuck. Look, they look fit. And I know they've trained hard. They look perfect specimens of athletes, but as regards movement, that team hasn't got it at the moment. And you look at City like Limerick moving the whole time, Waterford moving the whole time. Now, to me, Tip would be a little bit like Galway. Very good hurlers, would be lacking a bit of pace, but still very, very good hurlers. Where Dublin has movement. They will be. Cork has movement. At the modern game, you need movement and you need to be able to hurl. But if you haven't got the pace, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. What's the talent pool like in Galway? What does Shane O'Neill have to pick from?
Oh, yes, still good talent. There's plenty of lads in Galway, not alone the under-20s who, who I expect to be Dublin tonight, and the minors coming through to win All Ireland. But there's lads say from 21 up to 22, plenty of talent in Galway. But it was hard to get on that panel and to get on that team because there's more or less settled. Now, like, if you're coming through now, it's a great time because there's going to be places up for grabs. I would think the young lads coming through now, or even the lads that kind of in these development squads, now is the time for them to push forward because definitely there's places to be filled now. Like, you just can't keep picking the same guys the whole time if they're not delivering.
Yeah, so we might see an interesting couple of years with Galway with new faces popping up increasingly and lads giving chances.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, like, and these guys, we are good hurlers. They're good. Like, if you look at the last maybe since 1990, Galway have won, I'd say about 33% of all the titles between minor under 21 club. But we've only won one senior All Ireland, so that's what we have to be looking at. Whatever is going wrong, the transition, say, from the kind of underage club success to the senior success isn't coming through. So therefore that's where we have to work at and kind of maybe look closely why it isn't happening.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So I have the stats here on that if people might be interested. So this is minor and, well, under 20, under 21 and all money. So since 1990, Galway have won 13 minor and 6 under 21. So they've won 19 titles at, say, minor and under 21, 19 and just one senior to show for it. So whereas you take Kilkenny, they only won 15 at those two age brackets underage, and they obviously have 13 seniors. You take Tipperary, Tip have 5 minors, 4 under 21s, which is, 9 to Galway's 19 since 1990. But again, Galway just the one senior and Tip have 5. And even Limerick, 0 minor, they have 5 under 21s to Galway's 19. And then it's 2 senior for, 2 senior for Limerick.
And if you put in there the Club All Ireland, you'll find Galway have won more Club All Ireland than a lot of them counties. Club All Ireland, so you're picking that as well. Like, that's what I'm saying. The stats don't read well at senior level. So therefore, like, the management or the board then in Galway want to be looking closely at what's happening between that, between the underage and club success to the county success. It's not coming through. So there's something wrong. So we're not blaming anyone, but they have to look at it, and that's what they have to work on. It's
a bit of a mystery. What would be your theory?
Well, my theory would be like that maybe they're just not looking closely enough at fellas how they're going. Like, if a guy isn't playing well and he's still being picked, like, you need to pick on form. That's the name that's not known well and good. Like, and I would love to see a lot more kind of in-house development matches. Even starting when this club is over now, start to say have bring in 14 to Athenry or Galway, let them have 2 15s and the club subs there a match every weekend, and pick the guys that are playing well, and the lads that don't want to come in, well, they stay at home. It's as simple as that. Like, you have to have lads hungry and wanting to win, and like really to win. And look, it's not an easy to win, but it takes a lot of sacrifice. But there's nobody going through the motions. You have to bust the gut to win. And wear the jersey, really. But like, there is plenty of talent. I won't be a bit afraid. There's plenty of talent. It's just a matter of digging them out. They're there and go look at them. And you could get a good fella from an intermediate or junior club. It's important to search the clubs. They're all there, really. There's like, these young fellas that you're talking about winning, they're not gone away to America, Australia. They're all in college somewhere. Or they're all around. So it's a matter of digging them out and getting them wanted to play and make it attractive for them to play, that they want to get in there into that senior dressing room.
It's very easy to say of this current batch, well, geez, they only won one, they should have won more, but they were a great team, very likeable team in many ways as well.
Yeah, and they were great. Look at that. They don't owe anything to anyone. They were brilliant hurlers and still are. You know what I mean? Like, I feel sorry that they haven't won more, but they were in hard luck along the way. And you're going to meet great teams. You can be luckier and lucky. But like, if you're over a team, you can't keep going to the well with the same guys if they're not delivering. You have to change something. You know what I mean? Either they go or you go. You have to bite the bullet, really. And I would always take example looking at Brian Cody and Kilkenny. Like, if you look at the icons that have gone off his team, the likes of the Henry Shefflin's got the modern Henry Shefflin, Tommy Welch, J.J. Delaney, Jackie Tyrrell. They're all gone. Did their job, won their matches, won it hard, won it fair. And they've all slipped off. And another lad, like, really, when you put on a county jersey, you're going to represent it as best you can, but you're only holding it to pass it on in a better position to the next guy. It isn't yours for life, like, you know what I mean? To me, Kilkenny, if you're looking at a template, that's what I'd be looking at, how they do it. Like, and they are the most successful when you look at it. They haven't won as many minor under 21 lately, but like what Brian Cody and his management have done, like, it's unreal, really.
I have a clip here of James Scahill. He was speaking on the show at the weekend after the defeat, and he was I guess like we should do as well here, making note of the fact that Joe Canning broke Henry's record. So here's a clip of James Scahill speaking afterwards about Joe Canning.
The big thing today was Joe thankfully got the record, which was a great feat to have for him, and congratulations to him. But I think, let's say, I'm not sure how much time he's left in the Galway jersey. You look at the team as a whole, the panel as a whole, I think it's in need of rejuvenation. I think it's in need of an injection of youth, whereby we need to take some of these minors that we've won the last 4 of, or 3 or 4, and integrate them into the team sooner rather than later, and try build a team, not for today or tomorrow, but I think for a couple of years' time. And that's important. I think if we keep going with the clientele we have at the moment, we'll get probably similar results as we had today. I honestly don't know where the result came out of. Like, when you look at their league form, so championship form was chalk and cheese. So I'm not sure what evidence there was shown today to tell you that the same group or the same players can challenge for an Ireland next year. So I think there's going to be a lot of soul searching done. The guys in the team who have been there for 10, 12 years, they'll probably look at their situation, and they'll look at the team and they'll say, am I going to put in this much effort for 12 more months? Is there not Ireland in this team? When you're facing the likes of Limericks, and you're facing the Corks, who have all the youth coming through and they're there to stay, I think there's going to be a lot of questions asked, but I'd say there could be 3 or 4 timers in Galway at this stage.
Yeah, you can sense the disappointment. So Joe Cannion's going to be on our breakfast show tomorrow, so we'll get a sense of what he's thinking. But I'm sort of surprised as well, Cyril, the amount of people saying, well, is it the end of the road for Joe Cannion? I mean, he's still only 32. I know he's been on this road a long time, but surely there's a few more years in Joe, or is there?
Oh, yeah, like if you were going over Galway at the moment, you'd be keeping, okay, you might play him every game, but you look at, he's good enough to play in any team, and like, he's a fantastic hurler, one of the best Galway ever. The best 3, like, the tops, when you think of it in my time, the likes of John Connolly, the likes of Joe Cooney, now Joe Cannon, they're all JSCs. It's kind of ironic, really. But Joe is still like you saw there in after the last water break, he pinned passes, caught balls out there, and he pinned passes that no one would probably be able to do. Like, he picked out the likes of Jason Flynn for 2 goals. Like, spun them hard and gives them great. He still has a future if he wants to. Like, again, they mightn't have to use him. Like, and James was referring there to the league. You see, the league this year, when there's no relegation, the league was only, to me, this was only like opening the pitch, kind of an exhibition matches, and you couldn't be reading too much in it. And like, we didn't carry our form into it, but like, maybe we were looking, maybe Galway supporters or managers were looking too much at the league, thinking the form was good. Other teams were trying out, everyone was trying out for this, but like, it wouldn't only be about these lads. Whoever's over the team next year, like whoever they pick, there's plenty of guys, but like, you still need the best guys in there, like and Joe Cannon will be one of them. Now look, I don't always say when it's anything about retiring, a good player can retire 3 times, and if you know what I mean, because even if they retire, if they're good enough, the manager usually go after them again, entice them back for summer hurling, maybe not the winter trade, you know what I mean? All you want out of the likes of Joe, maybe bring on with 20 minutes to go, it'd be great impact. So if you wanted to do that, like, he's good enough, like, he's still a good hurler. He's not old in age, but he has a lot of hurling done, because even his young age with Portumna, like, he won county cups and he won All Ireland at about 17. Remember the one of the days against Rock for Galway, I don't know what he scored, it was unreal, like, and even though the Galway didn't win, so it's kind of the first I suppose viewing of Joe as a county team. But like, I've seen this guy underage for Thunder, like, and sure, the scores he gets are unreal, and like, the players would look up to him, like, I don't know what he's going to do entirely up to himself, but he makes a good point here. A lot of them lads are moving on and probably building houses and getting married. It's a completely different thing when you're kind of going to college and care for you having to care in the world. Now some of them would have, so that's a commentary. But that's all down the road. I wouldn't, if I was manager or players, I'd be hoping no one to make a rash decision, just take it nice, they have to go back to their clubs now and get ready for their clubs, and take the time of making a decision, like going into the winter months after a while, and when the summer comes again, it's a different ballgame, and like, the ball is flying, and with the help of God, we'll be doing the same thing again next summer. But there's big decisions to be made. But I wouldn't go like, okay, when you lose, everyone will shoot the manager and shoot the players. That's not the way you go about it. You just you have to plan it out, and there's no need to make any rash judgments or rash decisions like this now straight away.
Yeah. So again, Canning, he surpasses Henry Shefflin's record, all-time top scorer in the championship. I mean, they're two serious operators. It's funny you mentioned the Portumna stuff. I'd say you've seen some great scores out of him, because you see, my first memory of Canning is when he burst on the scene against Cork as a young fella. But sure, I think he'd made his Portumna debut at 15.
Yeah, actually, he was unreal. I remember a college game when we had him in LIT. He was unreal, brilliant at it. He took a line ball, put it just wide, and went wide the near side, and kind of set him at heart. And Joe, I said, look, leave it wide the far side, get it across the goal. So the same thing the second half, which is the same position, but playing the other way. So he cut it over the middle of the cross, and kind of looked at him and say, here, there's for you now. Like, he just says, he has phenomenal scale, 21-yard frees, like, he has all them things that just comes natural to him. But like, he grew up in a hurling family. Like, his father hurled for years with Portumna and Clymer, a good tough heart hurler, and all the brothers hurled with Portumna. Like, Ollie was probably one of the best cornerbacks that if not the best cornerback that Galway ever produced, and was very unlucky not to win All Ireland. Like, so he would be steeped in coming up as a young lad in hurling, and he'd been at all the sessions with Ollie training for the minors 121. Joe being there as young and pucking back, he'd be always with him, you see. So, like, you know, he had it from an early age, and he just developed a phenomenal skill. You have players at the moment like Pat Hogg and these guys, Tony Kelly. You know, they're unbelievable. TJ Reid, like they come every maybe 5 or 10 years, kind of unreal hurlers. Same with Shamie Cannon came there with Tip Roy. Like, these guys, the McGrath, they just have so much skill that they can do things, and then you expect them to do every day. And sometimes that doesn't happen. If that's shooting, but you just can't do that. You just, you know, you have to realise what the lads are given. Anyone can have a bad day, but like, to me, Joe Cannon is one of the greatest hurlers ever. Go down the same as King Henry Scheffler. These guys, you know, they're up there at the top bracket.
Yeah, he sure is. Hopefully we get a few more years of him. So, Dublin Cork at the weekend, and we have Tipperary against Waterford. And I guess the shadow which looms over the whole championship is Limerick, who were awesome in that second half, obviously, against Tipperary. Of all the teams left in the championship, Cyril, who do you feel is most likely to cause Limerick a bit of trouble? Or like, what style of hurling might rattle Limerick a touch? Or can anyone come close?
Well, you see, Tip showed, like, what the first half they out-hurled them. Lovely wrist, kind of better hands, and they make let Limerick look ordinary, if you know what I mean. Then the second half they were blown out. So you're trying to think of the second half, forget about the first half. But you go back to our old friends from Kilkenny. Like, he was playing Limerick to win the beat was the 2 years in the semi-final. He will meet Limerick head on. Like, you know, they wouldn't be as athletic as Limerick. They wouldn't have the big names yet. But like, I see this, like, last year in Kilkenny they were shouting for Brian Cody to go.
Yeah.
So, like, and sure now, like, he's in part to win the league with Galway. He's won the Leinster title, and if he keeps going, he wins All Ireland. So he's going to have a lot of All-Stars if these guys win All Ireland. And some of these guys said a few years ago against Westmeath, with all due respect, some were beaten under 21 with Eddie Brennan over the team. So, like, you know, like, what he's doing to me is phenomenal with hurlers that haven't won big time, but they're good hurlers, and they have won with Ballyhale, and they have their club championship is very strong. Like, and he'll work with. They will be hard to beat no matter who they play. Like, no matter who plays them. And I would think, like, Limerick, you know, I suppose it's Limerick's to lose, if I want to say it that way. Like, they are the benchmark at the moment, and, you know, they will feel they could be going, instead of going for 2 in a row, 3 in a row, because Kilkenny caught them and the field were caught. But, like, that's Kilkenny. You kind of know what you're going to get every day. They're consistent. They'll die on their back. You can hit them hard and take the belt and get up and drive on. That's their mantra. It's the same thing you're going to get of all the teams, and they're usually even underage, very good in the air. That's one, you know what I mean. Yeah. Which Limerick are as well, but which a lot of other counties aren't.
What do you think Cody does with these lads when he gets them?
Well, I'd say, like, if you're talking about, you see, he assumes and presumes bringing them in that they're able to hurl. But then when he gets them in, there's no kind of, his secret is there's no secret. He molds them in the way he wants to mold them, and they play his kind of way. And, like, again, you know, he does internal matches, and they'd be fairly hardy. And, like, if you got a few stitches, well, you'd play on. Like, unless it was very bad, you'd be expected to play on. You wouldn't be expected to kind of go crying and I'll come back tomorrow evening. That's not the way it works there. And it kind of makes the privilege, you know, to get into that dressing room. That's the big thing. It makes it sacrament kind of to get in there and then kind of to have that bond in the dressing room. And they're not going to win everything, but by God, you'll know you're in a game with them. Like, and you're always playing them, to me anyway. Even though the night they played Galway in a minor game, or was it a minor 21, Galway well up under 21, next thing, and in the end they were holding on. The final whistle want to be gone, and you want to be going for the gate with Kilkenny before it is over. They have that die-hard attitude, and like when they go in and start at the beginning of the year, they're not hoping to do well. They believe they're good enough to win All Ireland. That's their belief. Whereas a lot of other counties, they'd be hoping things will turn out. They believe they're good enough, you know. And whoever follows Brian Cody in time, whoever follows him is going to have a tough act to follow, because like he has that. You know, he has that discipline in him to do it his way or the highway, whichever you want to like. You know, if you don't like it, well, go and lump it.
Yeah, and so I say this with all due respect, genuinely, because like they're still savage players, I'm sure. But are you sort of saying that this bunch he has now, like in comparison with the riches of Limerick or the other counties, are probably a level down, but he's getting something out of them?
Well, I think last year he performed a miracle with what he had, and I think now, like, if he keeps going where he's going to turn these guys into all-stars. I'm not saying they don't deserve it, but all of a sudden, if they won another Ireland, it'd be just as hard to beat as the so-called great teams of Kilkenny, because they have that tradition, they have that belief. You know what I mean? They have that in them. Now, it's up to Limerick and the rest, whoever is in there, like Limerick and see who's left. Cork, lovely running game. You know, if you give them space, if you give them room to dance, they'll dance. Waterford, very running game. And even the weekend, like, I wouldn't expect them Waterford to get an easy game, you know, against what do you call it? Against Tip.
Yeah.
To be hard, but even Dublin against Cork will be hot favourites there. But I like Dublin is well organised under Matty Kinney. It won't be as easy as people think. You know what I mean? They will play a certain style of crowd out the middle, and they'll stay in the game as long as they can and make it physical. Because again, if you give room to Cork, they'll look lovely and they'll love a shootout with OK crowd. They won't do it that way. Whereas the other game, like in the league game, Waterford ran through Tip with pace. Tip will the way to stop them is don't let them have the ball. If they have the ball, stop it at force. Don't let them force that run, because they'll all come from deep, the half-back line, column lines, Jamie Barron. They'll come and they have overlaps coming in. So it's intriguing, there's going to be great battles, and the big thing now is there's a great prize, because the winner up to now, most of the matches, the winner was still training, say Tuesday evening. That's all gone after last weekend. The winner takes it all now, and you're into a semi-final. Only one. Anything can happen, you get that far. They'll all believe they can win, no matter who's in there, and they get into that level. Even the last day, with Limerick beating Cork well, like Cork missed a triple lot of goals, missed points, and you can't afford to do that against Limerick. But you'll find, even though they do that, Limerick are improving with every game. The last day, they came back, to prove themselves a great team to come back from that against Tipperary. And they got some fantastic scores. That's going to set them up. But they wouldn't want to fall as far behind again. Like John Kiley won't want them to fall that far behind and have to come from that deep again.
Well, listen, great to have the games back. Lovely to have you on, Cyril Farrell. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Pleasure is mine.